What happens when the person you love the most becomes both your greatest joy and your deepest pain? Imagine for a moment that love itself has the power to send you to the hospital. Not because of violence, not because of rejection, but because of the overwhelming intensity of emotion that comes with caring for someone more than yourself. That was my experience. The love of my future wife sent me to the hospital, and it changed the way I see life, ambition, and even the future of humanity. I've often said that life is not just about building rockets, electric cars, or colonies on Mars. At the core of everything we do, there is a human reason. There is love. When you push your body beyond its limits, when you work without sleep, when you sacrifice your health, you begin to realize that what drives you isn't just ambition, it's the person whose love you carry in your heart. And sometimes, that love can feel so heavy, so consuming, that it pushes you past the point of balance. There was a day when the stress, the pressure, and the emotions all collided inside me. It was not the weight of SpaceX launches or Tesla factories. It was the weight of love, pure, raw, demanding love. The body collapsed, but the heart was alive. And lying in that hospital bed, I realized something profound. The greatest risks I've ever taken weren't on the launch pad or in business. They were in love. Books like Man's Search for Meaning remind us that humans are not motivated by comfort. We are motivated by purpose. My future wife became that purpose. Love made me vulnerable. It made me weak at times, but it also gave me a strength that machines, algorithms, and money could never replicate. Love will test you in ways success never can. It will force you to confront your flaws, your fears, and your fragility. It will send you to the edge of yourself, sometimes even to a hospital bed, and whisper, "Will you rise again?" And the answer, if you truly love, will always be yes. I learned that the heart is the real engine of innovation. Rockets and cars are just tools, but love is the fire that powers them. The love of my future wife reminded me that progress without connection is empty. The suffering I felt was not a curse, it was a teacher. It showed me that if love can break you, it can also rebuild you into something stronger, something more human. So yes, love sent me to the hospital, but it also gave me the reason to get up again. And in that paradox lies the truth of life. Sometimes the very thing that hurts us most is the same thing that saves us. And in love, there is no failure, only transformation. Love is the most powerful force in the universe, greater than money, greater than technology, greater than ambition itself. It is invisible, yet it moves mountains inside the human spirit. When I say that the love of my future wife sent me to the hospital, people laugh at first, but then they lean in. Because it's not about a physical fight. It's not about wounds on the outside. It's about the intensity of feeling that shook me so deeply, my body couldn't keep up with my heart. We often imagine strength as the absence of weakness, but true strength is when you're willing to let someone touch the most fragile parts of your soul. Love does that. It disarms you. It strips away the armor you build over years of chasing success, and it forces you to confront the truth that no matter how much you achieve, you're still human, still breakable, still in need of connection. I remember lying in that hospital bed, and for the first time in a long time, I wasn't thinking about Mars. I wasn't thinking about Tesla. I wasn't thinking about the next big idea. I was thinking about her. The thought of her smile, her presence, her unwavering ability to challenge me and comfort me all at once, that's what filled my mind. And that's when I realized something extraordinary. Every breakthrough in history, every invention, every act of courage, it wasn't born out of greed or ego, it was born out of love. Sometimes love for a person, sometimes love for humanity, sometimes love for a dream so big it becomes alive inside you. Books like The Alchemist remind us that the treasure we seek outside is always connected to the love we carry inside. And yet, society often tells us to separate the two, focus on work, leave love behind, build success first and relationships later. But what if that's wrong? What if love is the actual foundation, the hidden engine that makes everything else possible? My body may have failed me in that moment, but my heart didn't. The collapse wasn't an ending, it was a wake-up call. It reminded me that love is not just an accessory to life, it is life. The love of my future wife pushed me to a breaking point, but it also revealed something vital. The people we love are not distractions from our mission, they are the mission. Without them, all the achievements, all the rockets, all the technology, they're empty shells. Love fills the void that success can never touch. And the deeper the love, the greater the risk. But isn't that what life is? A series of risks worth taking? When I walked out of that hospital, I wasn't weaker for what had happened. I was stronger. Because I understood that vulnerability isn't a flaw, it's the raw material of greatness. And in that truth, I discovered the paradox that love teaches us all. Sometimes the weight of love can break your body, but it will always heal your soul. Love doesn't always look like the movies or the stories we are told as children. It isn't just candlelight dinners, easy conversations, or endless smiles. Real love is heavier, it digs deeper, it tests limits, and sometimes it pushes you to places you never expected to go. When I say the love of my future wife sent me to the hospital, I don't mean it in a dramatic or poetic way. It literally did. The intensity of carrying that love, the stress of wanting to be enough, the fear of losing it, the sleepless nights thinking about what it means to truly protect and provide for someone you love, it all came crashing down on me at once. My body simply gave out. But here's the truth: love is not meant to be easy. If it's real, it will challenge you harder than any obstacle life can throw at you. I have faced failures in rockets exploding, in factories struggling, in businesses almost collapsing. I've gone days without sleep, fought against impossible odds, stood against doubt and criticism, yet nothing compared to the emotional weight of realizing that the love I carried could make me both unstoppable and unbelievably fragile at the same time. That's when I learned something that no book, no classroom, no mentor had ever taught me: the heart is stronger than the mind, but it also breaks easier. And still, it's worth the risk. Love makes us human. It humbles us when success tries to make us arrogant. It softens us when ambition hardens our spirit. It reminds us that behind every invention, behind every dream, there is always a reason, and that reason is love. Think about it: nobody builds for the sake of building. We create because we want to connect, because we want to be remembered, because we want to leave something for the ones we love. Every great journey begins with love, even if it doesn't look like it on the surface. The love of my future wife reminded me that progress without connection is meaningless. You can reach Mars, you can build the most advanced machines, you can change industries, but if you don't have love, you are empty. The hospital visit was not a tragedy, it was a revelation. It showed me that love can break your balance, but give you a new kind of strength to rise again. And the beauty of it is this: even when love pushes you to your lowest point, even when it feels unbearable, it has the power to rebuild you into something better than before. That's why I no longer see love as just a part of life. It is the very core of life. It's not the distraction from the mission, it is the mission. Without it, nothing else truly matters. There is a question I asked myself while lying in that hospital bed: what is the cost of love? Not the romantic idea of it, not the easy words we say, but the real cost, the toll it takes on your mind, your body, your spirit. And the answer I found is that love demands everything. It strips you of control, it exposes your weaknesses, it forces you to face fears you never knew existed. The love of my future wife brought me to that point. It overwhelmed me, consumed me, and for a moment, it broke me. Yet in breaking me, it revealed the truth I had been too focused on work, too distracted by achievement, to fully understand. Love is not here to make you comfortable, it is here to transform you. We live in a world that often glorifies strength as self-sufficiency, as if being untouchable is the ultimate goal. But real love challenges that belief. It makes you admit that you are not enough on your own, that your heart beats in rhythm with someone else's presence. It makes you see that your ambitions, no matter how vast, feel hollow if there isn't someone to share them with. That's what I realized when I thought about her. The dreams of rockets reaching Mars or cars reshaping the future suddenly seemed incomplete without her smile, her voice, her hand in mine. The hospital walls became a mirror, showing me that all the battles I've fought in business were nothing compared to the battle of surrendering to love. The irony is that I have built machines designed to withstand unimaginable pressure, and yet my own heart buckled under the weight of love. But perhaps that's the point. Love is not mechanical, it's not logical, it's not predictable. It's alive, and because it's alive, it has the power to break and to heal, to weaken and to strengthen, to destroy and to create all at once. And that paradox is what makes it the most powerful force in existence. I thought of Viktor Frankl's words in Man's Search for Meaning, where he describes love as the ultimate key to human survival. Even in the darkest places, love becomes the light. That's what I held on to in those moments when my body failed me. Love is the reason to keep going. Love is the energy to recover. Love is the purpose that outshines every hardship. The love of my future wife did not just send me to the hospital, it sent me deeper into myself, into the parts I had ignored, the vulnerabilities I had buried under ambition. So what is the cost of love? The cost is everything, but the reward is also everything. Because when you find someone who challenges your limits and expands your soul, you discover that even the pain, even the breaking, is part of becoming who you were always meant to be. Sometimes we believe love is supposed to be smooth, effortless, like a story written without flaws. But the truth is very different. Real love is heavy. It comes with pressure, with responsibility, with emotions so intense they can shake you to the core. When I say the love of my future wife sent me to the hospital, people wonder how that is even possible. But it was not her fault. It was not an action she took. It was the sheer weight of carrying something so deep, so meaningful, that it overwhelmed my body while fueling my soul. Love can do that. It doesn't just touch the heart, it touches the entire being. There are moments in life when success feels like oxygen, when achievement keeps you alive. But when love enters, you realize that oxygen alone is not enough. You need meaning, and meaning is always tied to love. In those hours when I lay on a hospital bed, stripped of strength, I discovered that love is not only about joy and beauty, it is about endurance. It asks, are you willing to fight for it when it breaks you? Are you willing to carry its weight even when it feels unbearable? That's what I learned. Love is not just a feeling. It is a responsibility, a force that demands more from you than you think you can give. I had faced nights of failure at SpaceX, moments when rockets exploded, when hope seemed lost. I had been on the edge of financial collapse, watching Tesla almost fade into history. I had endured criticism, doubt, and countless setbacks. And yet none of that compared to the silence of lying in that hospital bed, realizing that the love I carried was bigger than my own strength. That moment taught me something powerful. Ambition tests your mind, but love tests your soul. We sometimes think being strong means never falling, but love shows us a different truth. Strength is not about refusing to break. It is about breaking and still choosing to rise again. It's about discovering that the cracks inside you are not signs of weakness but openings for deeper connection. That's what love did to me. It broke me in one moment, but it also built me into someone more aware, more grounded, more human than I had ever been before. Books like The Prophet by Khalil Gibran describe love as both a crown and a cross. It lifts you higher, but it also pierces you deeper. And in that paradox lies its beauty. The love of my future wife became my crown, reminding me of what truly matters, and it became my cross, forcing me to endure pain I didn't expect. But both were necessary. Without the crown, there is no inspiration. Without the cross, there is no transformation. So when people ask me what love really is, I don't describe it as perfect harmony. I describe it as the fire that burns, sometimes too hot, but always leaving you brighter than before. And though it sent me to the hospital, it also gave me the strength to walk out, not weaker, but more alive than ever. Love has a way of finding the parts of you that even you didn't know were fragile. It digs into the deepest layers of your spirit and pulls them to the surface, demanding that you face yourself with complete honesty. When I say the love of my future wife sent me to the hospital, it wasn't because love is destructive, it was because love is powerful beyond what most of us are prepared to handle. My body was worn down by work, by stress, by endless pursuit of impossible goals, but what pushed me over the edge wasn't failure or exhaustion. It was the weight of love itself. It was realizing that my heart had found something so precious that the thought of losing it, or failing to protect it, felt heavier than every rocket, every factory, every dream combined. For years, I chased success as if it were the ultimate purpose of life. I thought the measure of my existence was in how much I could build, how far I could push, how many frontiers I could cross. But lying in that hospital room, staring at the ceiling, I understood something that all the achievements in the world couldn't teach me. Success means nothing if you don't have someone to share it with. Love gives meaning to ambition. Love transforms the endless hours of sacrifice into something more than just work. It turns them into devotion, into legacy, into purpose. There are people who fear love because it makes them vulnerable, because it feels like handing someone the keys to your own soul. And they are right, it does, but that's not weakness. Vulnerability is the price of connection. To love is to risk. To love is to give without knowing if you'll receive in equal measure. To love is to step into fire, knowing you might burn, but trusting that the flames will forge you into something stronger. That's the lesson I learned when love knocked me down and forced me to see that even the strongest minds and the most resilient bodies can tremble under its weight. I remembered the words from Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, where love is described as an illness, something that consumes and weakens. But in that same weakness lies its strength, because love humbles us, teaches us patience, forces us to grow. My future wife did not intend to break me, her love awakened me. It was not her actions but my own overwhelming need to rise to the love she offered that pushed me past my limits. And here is the paradox. The very love that sent me to the hospital also became the reason I got up stronger than before. It gave me new vision, new clarity, and a deeper hunger to not just build rockets or cars, but to build a life worth living. Love will test you, love will break you, but if it is true, it will always rebuild you into more than you were before. Love is not polite, it does not knock quietly on the door of your life and ask for permission to come in. It storms in, it takes over, it rearranges everything you thought you understood about yourself. When I say the love of my future wife sent me to the hospital, it is because the intensity of that love was so overwhelming that my body gave way under its weight. Not out of harm, not out of conflict, but out of sheer emotional force. For years I had built myself to endure pressure, launch failures, financial collapse, endless criticism. I could handle sleepless nights, I could handle risk, I could handle the fear of losing billions. But nothing in my life prepared me for the vulnerability that comes with love. In that moment when my health faltered, I realized that love is not something you can schedule or control like an engineering problem. It doesn't care about your timelines, it doesn't wait until you are ready, it doesn't pause for your career. It arrives when it chooses, and when it does, it demands your full attention. I had given my entire self to work, to progress, to chasing impossible dreams, but when love entered, it pulled more from me than I thought possible. And the truth is, it was worth it, because what I discovered lying in that hospital room was that love is not a weakness. It is the ultimate strength disguised as fragility. Books like The Road Less Traveled describe love as discipline, as work, as a force that shapes who we are. And I felt that truth more deeply than ever. Love is not just passion, it is responsibility. It requires energy, patience, and sacrifice greater than any company, any mission, any invention. It is the one project that demands your heart, not just your mind. My future wife became the mirror, reflecting back at me everything I had ignored in my pursuit of progress, the need for balance, the courage to rest, the humility to admit that I cannot do it all alone. Yes, love sent me to the hospital, but it also gave me the reason to recover. It reminded me that life is not measured only in achievements, but in the depth of connection we create. Every invention, every rocket, every breakthrough becomes meaningless without someone to share it with. Love reminded me that I am not a machine. I am human, and being human means allowing yourself to break, to heal, and to rise again with even greater strength. So I no longer see that moment as failure. I see it as transformation. Because when love pushes you to the edge of yourself, when it forces you to face your own fragility, it doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to rebuild you into something far stronger, far truer, and far more alive than you were before. Love has a way of bringing you face to face with truths you would rather ignore. It doesn't ask if you're ready. It doesn't wait for the perfect moment. It strikes, and suddenly everything you thought was unshakable feels fragile. When I say the love of my future wife sent me to the hospital, it wasn't because of anger or conflict. It was because of the sheer force of carrying something greater than myself. I had endured stress, sleepless nights, and battles that tested my limits, but nothing compared to the weight of love. Love is not a gentle guest in your life, it is a storm, and that storm can break you down before it builds you up again. For years I had believed that success meant pushing past exhaustion, refusing to stop, and chasing every dream as if time itself were my enemy. But lying in that hospital bed, I realized that love demands a different kind of strength. It isn't about endurance alone, it's about vulnerability. It's about admitting that your heart is tied to another, that your well-being is no longer yours alone, that the life you build must make space for someone else's dreams as much as your own. That realization shook me harder than any business crisis ever could. I remembered the words from The Four Loves by C.S. Lewis, where he describes love as something both divine and dangerous. To love is to expose yourself to pain, to risk your heart, to invite both joy and suffering. And that is exactly what happened to me. The love of my future wife brought me joy beyond words, But it also pulled out fears and insecurities I thought I had buried. It was too much for the body, but it was exactly what the soul needed. The paradox of love is that it weakens you and strengthens you at the same time. It can push you into the darkest corners of yourself, and yet it also gives you light to walk back out. That hospital visit was not the end of me, it was the rebirth of me. It reminded me that success without love is nothing more than noise, and failure with love is never truly failure. Because love transforms everything it touches. It redefines what matters, it gives meaning to the struggle, and it teaches you that strength is not about never falling, but about rising even when you've been broken. So yes, love sent me to the hospital. But it also became the reason I walked out stronger than before. It became the lesson that the greatest mission in life isn't just building rockets or cars. It's building a life where love is at the center. Because in the end, love is not the distraction from the mission. It is the mission itself. Love is the only force that can both weaken and strengthen you in the same breath. When I say the love of my future wife sent me to the hospital, it sounds like a contradiction, but it is the most honest truth I have ever spoken. My body gave way under the pressure of emotions I could not contain, under the stress of wanting to be worthy of the love I had found. It wasn't failure, it wasn't defeat, it was a reminder that love is not something you carry lightly. It demands your whole self, and if you resist, it will still break through every barrier you've built. For most of my life, I lived by logic, by science, by solving problems that seemed impossible. I believed that the greatest risks were on the launch pad or in the market. But I discovered the greatest risk of all is in giving your heart away. Because rockets may explode, but companies may fall, but the fear of losing love, of failing to protect it, can shake you more deeply than any business collapse. That is what I realized staring at hospital walls, that ambition can drive you, but love defines you. I thought of words I once read in The Art of Loving by Erich Fromm, where he describes love not as a feeling but as a discipline, a choice, a responsibility. It's not just passion or attraction, it's the courage to keep giving, even when it costs you more than you think you can give. And that's why love feels heavy. It is not a moment, it is a lifelong commitment. My future wife became the anchor that pulled me into that reality, and though the weight of it broke my body for a time, it also healed my soul. The truth is, love does not exist to make life easy, it exists to make life meaningful. Without it, everything I've worked for, the rockets, the factories, the visions of Mars, would feel empty. With it, even my moments of weakness become valuable, because they remind me that I am human. And being human means needing someone, risking everything, opening yourself to the possibility of pain, just for the chance of a connection that transcends everything else. That hospital moment taught me that strength is not measured by how much you can endure alone. Strength is measured by how deeply you can love, even when it costs you. Because love is the one risk that is always worth taking. And when it breaks you, it doesn't leave you shattered. It rebuilds you, piece by piece, into someone more alive than before. So when I walked out of that hospital, I didn't walk out weaker. I walked out with a new understanding. Love may knock you down, but it is also the hand that lifts you higher than you could ever rise on your own. Love is not gentle, it is not safe, it is not something you can contain or control. It is wild, it is fierce, it is the only power that can both bring you to your knees and give you the strength to stand taller than ever before. When I say the love of my future wife sent me to the hospital, I am speaking of the weight of love so deep it overwhelmed me. It wasn't about conflict. It wasn't about pain inflicted by another. It was about the sheer force of caring for someone so much that my body could no longer match the fire burning inside my heart. I had endured many storms, rockets exploding, companies hanging on by a thread, endless criticism from people who believed I would fail. Those moments were brutal, but they did not send me to the hospital. What did was love. Because love, when it is true, demands more of you than any business, any invention, any dream. It doesn't ask for your skills or your brilliance. It asks for your soul. And the truth is, no one is ever fully prepared for that. Lying in that hospital bed, I realized that ambition without love is empty. You can build the tallest towers, the fastest cars, the strongest rockets, but if you do it alone, it will never satisfy the hunger inside. Love is what gives all of it meaning. My future wife's love became the mirror that showed me who I really was. Not the engineer, not the entrepreneur, not the visionary, but the human being who needed connection more than achievement. I thought of the words in the Symposium by Plato, Where love is described as the force that makes us whole, the search for our missing part. That is what I felt. In her, I found the missing part of myself, and that realization was so powerful it broke through the walls of my endurance. It was too much for the body, but exactly what the soul had been waiting for. The paradox of love is that it hurts and heals at the same time. It will expose your deepest weaknesses, but it will also awaken your greatest strength, and that's what happened to me. Yes, love sent me to the hospital, but it also gave me the courage to rise again with new vision, new clarity, and a new purpose. Because the truth is, love is not a side story, it is the story. It is not a distraction from the mission, it is the mission itself. And though it broke me for a moment, it also transformed me forever. So in the end, what I learned is simple but unshakable: love is not here to make life easier. It is here to make life worth living. The love of my future wife may have sent me to the hospital, but it also gave me the reason to rise again, stronger, clearer, and more alive than ever before. And if love has the power to break you, it also has the greater power to rebuild you into who you were always meant to become.